Welcome to the Fighting Giants podcast. Stephen, Andry, how are you doing today?
I'm Peachy Keen. How are you?
Hey,
I'm trying to bring
Peachy.
back all those 60 statements, man.
One of my friends, he does a morning show there in Ohio, and they were just bringing in this Queen cover band. And
Oh, really?
yeah, so you got me thinking, like, when I was in your Peachy, and you want all these like, they're out of England. They're, the guy looks like Freddie Mercury and everything.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm bringing him back is my son, though. He's got all these cool new terms. I got to bring back the old ones to play with him.
If you
I
could
don't half understand what he's saying.
he doesn't say dude a lot, or
It's solid and stuff like that.
Like, I think when I was growing up, it's because of Back to the Future. Like, oh, that's heavy.
Yeah. Well, they use all the terms like with the texting, so they got all the initials and stuff, and I can't what the heck are you saying?
Could you ask your son a question then for me? Because I just want to know the proper etiquette and how to use it. Like, if you say something funny, am I supposed to go LOL if I use it verbally? Like,
I get confused. Is that laugh out loud or love something? Lots of love.
Laugh out loud is my understanding of it. So, like, if you could ask him, like, for me, like, what's the proper etiquette, like, in conversation? And can I go, you say something funny, I go, oh, that's so LOL, Stephen.
That's going to get lost in translation. I'll go ask him, but it's probably going to get confused by the time I get back to you, man.
That's fair. That's good. So, excited to talk with you today, and you have brought your business partner in crime with you.
Oh, my gosh. She's just an amazing person in my life, has been a huge blessing, her and her husband, and we have been on a journey together for many years, and the journey seems to be getting brighter and broader as we move forward. So we're real excited. I'm excited she's with us today. So like to introduce you guys to my partner, Jane Edelmann. She's a licensed professional clinical counselor. She specializes with me in working with the partners of guys dealing with sex addiction. While she can do both, she really does an amazing job with empowering the partners. And today, that's going to be part of our goal, as we've been touching on some high-level stuff around addiction and pieces within the church and in communities. Today, I'm really excited that she's going to bring a piece around initial impact of discovery when a partner finds out something's been going on in the marriage. So it's just such a blessing to welcome Jane to the podcast. So she's hopefully going to be a regular contributor if I can convince her and get her on here more. So
glad to be here.
Well, Jane, welcome. So excited to see you again. It's been a little while. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, really glad to be here.
So as Stephen was talking about, like with initial discovery, what's that look like for someone on either side, I guess, of the relationship when they find out that something's broken in the relationship? Because my guess is they probably don't know the scope of it when they first initial discovery. Like, my car stops working. I don't know how bad it is, so I take it into the mechanic.
And specifically discovery around some kind of sexual misconduct.
One of the best ways to describe that is, partners will come in and feel like the wind gets knocked out of them once they discover that the person that they have been committed to and have been faithful to in some kind of a relationship has either disclosed, or they've discovered that there's been some kind of trust broken, and that their most trusted person in life has stepped outside of the relationship by either using pornography or acting out with other people, whether it's a physical or an emotional affair. And it rocks their world. It takes them out on an emotional level, on a physical level, in so many different ways. And it's a very comprehensive impact that they deal with.
No, you said like physical pornography, but then also emotional. Mm-hmm. I think that might be the gray area for a lot of people. Like, what's that look like when you see someone emotionally betrayed? Like, what are some of the characteristics that are in that type of betrayal?
Someone an individual who invests their emotional and sexual energy into someone other than the person that they're in a committed relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about the breath being knocked out of them, that kind of space, and that partner walks in you to your session for the first time, what is that individual, what are you picking up with that client? And then I know there's a level of post-traumatic stress to it, the term betrayal, if you could expand on that as well. How do you start to initially create some level of grounding, of stability when, and in some ways, I guess the question goes beyond just your session. With those who may be listening, the idea that if this is happening to you, here's some things you might really need to be aware of.
Yeah, I think the word that came to mind when you started asking that question was, life is disrupted. It's just a disruption of everything that an individual thought their life was. And all of the things that they had been counting on, the foundation of security and safety that they built their life upon, all of a sudden comes into question because the person that they trusted most is the source of incredible pain, and there's a bind there. The person who you would normally go to for comfort and security and safety has become a threat, and your nervous system knows that as a betrayed partner.
Do they trust it, though? If their nervous system knows it, does the partner actually trust it? You know what I'm asking there? Like, they may know something's there, and I'm kind of speaking to the idea that working on the other side of this fence, I know that these guys manipulate and deceive.
So can I just read you a quote from one of the resources we use a lot? It's by Sherry Keffer from the book Intimate Deception. And I think this is going to answer and define. It says, betrayal trauma is the act of being unfaithful to a spouse or significant other when there has been a commitment to exclusive fidelity. A violation of trust occurs when your spouse or significant other uses deception and manipulation to put more time, more emotional and sexual energy or resources into another entity, such as an emotional or sexual affair, pornography, cybersex, hookups, flirting, strip clubs, pornography, and on and on and on. And some of that would include potentially acting out with same-sex people, which can be incredibly devastating as well. So this betrayal trauma is, I like to think about, I have a lateral file drawer in my office here, and it has all of my resources organized impeccably, right? Every paper is in the right file folder, and I'm old school.
Not like my office, by the way.
Not my electronic files, the actual paper files in the drawer. And it's like somebody coming in, and that drawer contains my life and the thing that I have based my security and safety on, and they take that drawer out, and they dump it on the floor, and they just move all of the files, and all of the papers come out, and then it's just this jumbled mess on the floor. And really what happens on an emotional and psychological and physical, spiritual, and sexual level for a partner is that that's what just happened to her life. And the things that made sense, the things that were in order before, now are in a state of chaos. And she can't trust herself to even know where to start digging out of the pile, to start making sense of the chaos.
That includes your history, correct, Jean?
Excuse me?
When you're talking about that file that just got dumped, that's not just the now, right? That's also her history, everything, right?
Oh, so she questions like all the past words and I love yous and all that.
Absolutely. Every memory that was made in the relationship, every photograph, every, time, you celebrated an anniversary or something, everything gets called into question because the partner doesn't know the full extent of the betrayal. And so when someone comes into my office, what I do first and foremost is validate her reality. I help her understand that what she's experiencing, whether it is these incredibly manic episodes where she's acting outside of her value system and she's cussing and she's screaming and she's yelling and she may even get physically activated and throw something at her her spouse or significant other, to help her understand, your life just took a hit. This is like a bomb going off in your life, and you're just trying to get your feet back on the ground and look around and assess the damage. So giving her context for what is happening to her, helping her understand that what she's experiencing, the physical symptoms, the emotional symptoms, the psychological symptoms are real. They're very much similar to those of post-traumatic stress that a war veteran may come out of the battlefield with. And there's a lot of re-experiencing and intrusive thoughts and flashbacks and emotional dysregulation. So she is coming in this total place of disorientation, and she needs a grounding. And that's really what I do as a specialty, is to help tell her the truth about who she is, that this is not her fault, that she was not the cause, nor is she the cure for what is going on with her partner. And that is so important for a partner to understand, a betrayed partner. The person who was offending and was, being unfaithful in whatever way they were, these are decisions and choices that person made. And oftentimes someone who's been betrayed believes somehow or another, this is my fault. And I just am here to reassure that this is not your fault. There was nothing that you did to cause this, and nothing that you can do to cure it. And, my focus in working with that client is to help her be grounded, take care of herself, understand what she's going through, and help her stabilize so that she can begin to function again in her life and understand what she needs in going forward if she is going to stay in this relationship, and that is, she needs safety and she needs truth. And so those are two things that I work really hard to help that partner attain in her clinical work with, in cooperation with Steve or another therapist who's working with the addict, and, helping create a formal disclosure, an impact letter, a self-care plan. Just it's a holistic approach to giving that individual some control back in a situation that feels out of control.
I love how you say not the cause or the cure, which I think is probably pretty freeing to the person that's going through the trauma that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Now, as we talk about the initial discovery of it, so there's a lot of times in life when we see a trend happening, and Stephen was saying, the other partner is usually pretty manipulative in the situation too, trying to hide something. At some point, it's like all these truths in her life became lies, and all these things that she kind of thought were lies in her head become true. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of where she's like, I thought I saw this trail and these breadcrumbs, but I just didn't want to believe them?
Well, that's also where we come in. So there's the need for safety, the need for truth as a process. So everything, for most of what he has done, because of what he has done, most of what he has lived becomes, do I trust it spaces. Mm-hmm. So was he really doing what he said he did on that trip? Was he really at work? Did he really take the kids here? And was these anniversaries and his gifts, did they really mean anything? Right? So one of the things I have to do on my end to support Jane and the partners stabilizing is that I have to create a place in the work I'm doing with my men that allows them the freedom to get empowered, because he's created so much of a disempowerment through his manipulation, and then with just the discovery, the partner gets so disoriented. I have to help him empathize / pull back, live with the consequences of those situations, to give Jane the time she needs to help that partner heal, or at least begin the process. So part of our work here at our Intact, our counseling office, is a kind of 4-phase. We've talked about that, touched on that, this idea of each individual needing to heal and get stable, right? We're talking about today her side of that, But there is something going on in the other office that's really critical to what Jane offers her partner. We'll get to that at a different time, but it's a mutual place that Jane helps me with information. So we start to plan a formal disclosure. We start to get things that she can start to see. There's evidence outside of his word, because his word is now shot. And I'm not going to demand that she believe that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to demand anything of her, and I'm going to protect her reality.
No, that makes a ton of sense. So as then the process goes on there with the initial discovery, how do you help give the person going through the betrayal trauma some hope? Like, hey, you're in a dark time right now, but there is hope. Like, it's easy to tell you from, when someone gets hurt, like, hey, you'll get better, toughen up, it'll get better. But like, how do you give them real hope in this situation when they're in this discovery moment?
Well, one of the things that I offer quickly is Jane will have what we call a conjoin. So Jane and her partner will come join in one of our sessions, and she gets to meet me. So what I really love about what Jane does in her empowering of these partners is she helps them borrow my hope that I'm going to be there for her offender partner. She don't have to trust him. She can trust me. So if she can trust me and she can trust Jane, she's already got safety that she can borrow from both of us. That's a critical piece, because we can't force her to believe in this guy. I don't believe in him yet. I don't have all the story. I believe he can be healthy. And if I can offer that to Jane and her partner, and we interact, we get releases, we talk. So, create support.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I never thought about that. With you guys are now the ones that the person going through the trauma is holding their trust in. So then what do you guys use as tools to keep you guys safe? Because you guys are, dealing with more and more clients, and how do you keep you guys, like, I can only imagine it's like getting beat up every day, seeing other people's problems. How do you keep those problems from weighing you guys down?
Well, there's an exhaustion there for sure, because, I was just thinking as you were speaking, the title of this podcast is Fighting Giants. Mm-hmm. Okay. One of the big giants that we are fighting has to do with in the area of protecting these partners, mm-hmm. right? Because so many times they're just told to forgive, mm-hmm. or so many times they're blamed for, like, hey, if you just were more sexual, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. That is never going to be told in my session. You're not going to hear me say that to one of these guys. If anything, I'm going to blow that out of the water. That is not something we're going to push on her. She needs to feel that safety. So there's that energy that we need to create. And the beauty of one of the ways we help is that I know and trust what's going on in Jane's counseling office, because we work together so well. And I believe she believes the same about me and what's going on in my office.
Rob, the thing that I'm struck by is, number one, we bear the weight of this because we're a part of a team, right? We're not alone. I don't feel alone in this work because I know Steve has my back. We're using the same language. We're using the same tools. And the other therapists in our group are being trained up to do the same things. And so there's trust on our team to care for these clients in a very consistent way. The other thing is we have to practice using boundaries all the time. And, when we're sitting with somebody in that much pain, we're trained as clinicians to be able to stay somewhat detached, not disengaged or uninvolved, but detached, so that we're not absorbing all of that, right? We can't carry that kind of emotional energy all the time. I know one of the saving graces for me is being able to, either between sessions or at the end of a day, to poke my head in Steve's office and say, I need to process something. I didn't need him to do anything for me except to just listen and to be able to share the burden. And so what I think we all know is that Like, I don't have all the answers. He doesn't have all the answers. But when we work in tandem, we can help create strength for that partner, and let her borrow our hope, let her borrow our strength to forge the path forward, whatever that means for her. Because every client that comes in, there may be a different outcome. Yes, we want to save marriages and help families remain intact, right? That's our mission. However, it doesn't always work out that way. And we want the individuals who come in here to leave their therapeutic experience healthier and more authentic and whole. And hopefully that's in the relationship as well.
But what's also really important there, Rob, and it's something I want to pull out of what Jane said, in the steps forward, the reality is neither the guy dealing with the addiction or the partner understand the future. The beauty of what Jane and I offer by having this is this idea that we know where we're taking them. They don't. So there is an anxiety of fear. They don't know the future. And we try and ground them in the now and get them focused on doing what they need to do. But we can hold the future for them. We can hold that hope as well. They don't know what the future holds. And sometimes we're biting off a week or a month at a time. Usually that's the case. Why? Because they have to see that there's something to hold on to, and they can't predict a future. They don't even know that they can live with this guy anymore because they don't know all that they don't know, right? These partners come in deathly afraid of the secrets the addict's been holding. They come in feeling less than because all of a sudden these women are told, you're not enough for me. So you've got these things percolating in these women that it is incumbent upon me to protect in my office with the guys and help them understand what damage has been done. There are all kinds of addictions out there. We've touched on some of them, right? I have not seen anything affect a partner like sexual misconduct, period. It devastates emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. And if I am not aware and sensitive to that in here, more abuse happens out there. So we have to, Jane and I, align in holding these couples' future. Because we're taking them to a place they've never been.
One of the, I think, greatest challenges that I have is helping a partner begin to trust herself again. Because historically, she has been gaslit and manipulated and deceived and blamed for things over a very long period of time. And so she comes in kind of feeling a little bit crazy. I hear, I'm so stupid. I'm such a fool. I can't believe I let this happen for this long. And she's carrying the weight and feeling as if, this is on her. So helping her get her story straight and get her narrative cleared up so that she can set healthy boundaries, so that she can know, are my children safe to be with this person? There's a lot of fear. Can I tell people? Who should I tell? Helping her, guide her through that process so that she can see that somebody knows where they're going, because she doesn't know where she's going.
No, talk about like a big picture, a big ball of yarn to unwind here, where there's so many little things we could talk about in like the whole process, which we'll talk about on future episodes, which I'm excited. I've learned a ton every time I talk to you guys. So I'm incredibly appreciative of the time you guys spend in sharing what you guys have learned over the time. If someone's like, what would you encourage someone to do if they're going, their truth is getting shattered? They're in that maybe before discovery, but they're thinking it's discovery, they don't know what's going on. What would you encourage that next step to be for someone who's listening to this going, I may be in this situation? What would you encourage them to do?
Well, first of all, I want to give Jane the last word, but what I would offer is understand they're hurting, trust their gut, and don't trust everything everybody else is telling them. So the reality is there are many, many, many well-meaning people out there, and most of them have little to no significantly inadequate information around how to handle this. We don't just pray it through. We don't just get over it. We just don't move on. There's a reality that you're going to need help. You've been traumatized. You're living in a fight or flight response, and you need a trained professional to help you through that. It doesn't have to be Jane or I. There are many good ones out there. And there are many wonderful people who are therapists who don't know what they're doing around this. So the churches out there are causing damage, communities, families, well-meaning best friends. They're saying things, trying to help that are actually not. Get the help you need. Take care of yourself. Get to someone like Jane. The difference is phenomenal when you see this huge shift because they get validated, and Jane's amazing at doing that. And Jane,
Yeah,
I'd like to give you that.
I think I would just say, you know, this is a specialty area, and you need somebody who's been specially trained to understand the process of healing. And so looking for a CSAT, a certified sexual addiction therapist, a certified partner trauma therapist, an APSAT, there's a lot of credentialing that people have that help indicate whether somebody is going to be able to help you move through this without adding additional trauma. Because there is treatment trauma out there. People just being given some formulaic kind of direction of, oh, just go to couples therapy. No, this isn't couples therapy, standard couples therapy at all. And that has damaged a lot of people who come into my office, is that a betrayed partner is often diagnosed with some kind of like psychological disorder, like a personality disorder or bipolar disorder, because the trauma reaction she's in looks a little bit like those things. And so she's labeled as the problem. And that is not the truth.
Wow. Well, you guys gave me a lot to think about. Hopefully, the listeners a lot to think about, and some tools if someone's going through it or you know someone who's going through it to help point them in the right direction, not just a direction. So, thank you guys. Any parting thoughts here before we wrap this up? We'll start with Stephen here.
Yeah, I'm just really grateful that Jane's part of our podcast today. Even more grateful that I get to do this work with her, because I think there's a place that we're up against a significant tsunami, as Carnes talks about it, this big challenge. But it's really nice to be taking the hits together. We have a powerful team between her and I, as well as what we've built here at the counseling practice. So just really find the people, and it's okay to fire us. I think we go in assuming that every therapist is going to deal with it the way we need to, and we just got to take what they say. Please, no. I tell every client, you're allowed to fire me. If you aren't comfortable with me, if you don't think you're getting what you need, we'll help you get there. Because I think there's a big truth that we can't all do everything for all people. So,
Jane, any parting thoughts?
Just that we can't do it alone. And I'm really grateful for the team that I'm a part of. And I can see the magnitude of the tidal wave coming at us. You know, it can be overwhelming thinking about it. For me, it's one client at a time, you know, and being a healthy person individually and being able to bring that into the counseling room as well helps give some credibility to, you know, the work that we're doing.
No, absolutely. I have so many more questions for you guys for a future episode, so I can't wait to ask you guys those and dig into these topics more and more. I'm learning a ton. I hope those who are listening are learning just as much. And Stephen, you've given me some great resources. If someone wants to reach out, you can reach out to us now at FightingGiantsPodcast@gmail.com if you want more resources or just stuff you guys have learned. We'll gladly share those with anyone who asks, or if you just have general questions or need to get pointed in a direction, reach out to us at FightingGiantsPodcast@gmail.com, and we'd love to help you out any way we can. So thank you again, guys, and we'll talk to you again here real soon.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, Rob.